protecting our own citizens from Russian missiles, bombs and drones. In over a year of war, Ukraine has progressed here. Modern air defense systems like Patriot, SAMP, T or Iris, mobile fire teams that deploy when needed, and aviation that has learned to destroy aerial targets from Russia. Peace exists, but it's still not enough. That's why Ukrainians are working to secure the skies.
To impose a no-fly zone because our people are being killed directly. Knowing new strikes and casualties are inevitable, NATO has decided not to close skies over Ukraine. How many more deaths and losses are needed to make the skies over Ukraine safe?
Tired of endlessly asking this question and explaining the need to close the skies over Ukraine, our defense forces began to act on their own. After all, taking control of the airspace has become a matter of survival for the entire nation. The first step was signing a memorandum between Turkey and Ukraine in July 2023. The countries agreed on military cooperation and announced the drone production in Ukraine. This includes cooperation in the military-industrial complex, technology development, drone production, and other strategic sectors. One of the drones to be produced under this agreement is the legendary Bayraktar TB2. This is the very bird that destroyed columns of Russian equipment in the first days of the full-scale war. It was for this drone that Ukrainians raised more than $500 million hryvnias in just 2 days. And these are the very drones that the company Baykar donated to Ukraine for free, impressed by the unity of our people. Range by ground control, 150 kilometers. It can carry 150 kilograms at over 220 kilometers per hour. The Bayraktar TB2 can stay airborne for over a day and operate at a maximum altitude of 8,200 meters. It has guided munitions, anti-tank guided missiles, and precision-guided aerial bombs. The second drone that is to be produced in Ukraine is a more recent development, the Bayraktar Akinci. This is a long-range UAV with a Ukrainian turboprop engine. It underwent testing at the end of 2019. The range of this drone is 7,500 kilometers. The allowable payload weight is 1.5 tons. At the same time, its maximum speed is over 360 kilometers per hour. This unmanned giant can climb to an altitude of over 12 kilometers and stay airborne for about 25 hours. At the same time, the drone can be armed with air-to-air missiles, smart munitions, anti-tank missiles, as well as cruise missiles with a strike range of over 270 kilometers. The exact location of the factory where these drones will be manufactured is being kept strictly confidential. It is only known that, according to the signed memorandum, not only drones will likely be produced there, but for obvious reasons, detailed information is not being disclosed.
Construction work has already begun on this factory, and the plant is being built now, not just mentioned in memorandums, but the memorandum also mentions another type of production, which I cannot talk about yet.
Ukrainian drone manufacturers are not idle either. It is known that back in mid-2019, Ukraine presented a prototype of its own long-range strike drone. Sokol 300 is a development by the domestic design bureau Luch. The declared flight range is almost 3,500 kilometers. That's like flying from Kiev to Moscow and back twice, or one way to Novosibirsk.
This optics, for example, allows you to detect movement from an altitude of 3, 5, or even 10 kilometers at a distance of up to 50 kilometers. This is a range that allows you to avoid being hit by anti-aircraft fire.
A significant number of drones are now covering the skies over the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces, as well as in frontline zones. Hundreds of Western drones were purchased mainly by volunteer organizations, and now they are an integral part of almost every unit of Ukraine's defense forces.
So, is the current war that's happening a war of artillery and drones? This topic is relevant right now, and it is important for everyone directly involved in the defense of Ukraine. But whereas before we had to crawl on our bellies through minefields, go behind enemy lines, and somehow adjust artillery or gather intelligence, now it's enough to launch a little drone like this and fly it over there.
In peacetime, essentially a toy has truly become a formidable weapon in war. Dozens of videos showing explosive devices dropping onto the heads of the Rushists have taught these uninvited guests to listen carefully to every rustle and to keep their heads held high. Not out of pride for the so-called second army in the world, but so they don't miss the next gift from the sky courtesy of the Ukrainian armed forces.
With a little drone like this costing 50,000, well, you can't really kill anyone or anything like that. Here it's about demoralizing the personnel as much as possible, constantly, as we say, keeping them on edge. There are areas of the front where our guys work. They are afraid to even leave their dugouts during the day.
Ukrainian diligence and ingenuity have also made it possible to convert ordinary civilian drones into combat ones. Homemade drop systems, more powerful munitions, and reinforced advanced control panels for greater range. All of this enables our military to successfully destroy superior enemy forces.
This particular household drone, modified for military use, can on the one hand adjust artillery fire, and on the other hand it can fly out and conduct reconnaissance, that is, identify locations of troop deployments, column movements, and equipment storage sites. There are also drop systems, but that's another story.
Here it's about 1.5 kilograms of happiness falling from the sky. 500 millimeters of armor penetration. In fact, it's basically a flying anti-tank guided missile. And it already flies farther than 8 kilometers.
There are also some truly creative solutions for closing the sky found at the front. For example, a homemade machine gun assembled from 6 AK-47s. But DIY inventions are now rare among the military. Anti-aircraft systems and military air defense are being supplied to Ukraine by Western partners slowly but steadily. So, as practice has shown, the phrase "this country cannot be defeated" actually applies not to Russia, but to those who have truly stood up to them.